Hello everyone, welcome to Foreigner Farming in the Philippines. Today I'm removing all the sludge from the bottom of these breeder tanks. I already did that. Tata and I did the tank with the net in it there, second from the end yesterday, and I did that next tank over earlier. And I'm going to start with this one here and do it next. I'm not going to be putting the nets back in because they're just gone. We did find a couple. They're in that wheelbarrow there, and I'm going to see if any of those will fit this one, because I'm going to do this one next. I've just decided, rather than do the next one over there and then come back and do these, I would start here and then go that way. They all need to be done because it's been several months, and you can see from the sediment in the water that there's a lot of stuff in the bottom of the tanks. So just gonna, it's cleaning the sludge out of the bottom and doing more water exchange. Ippy's watering, or Ippy, Hansing is watering right at the moment, so it's going to be a pretty major water exchange. I've already filled up that one tank where I've already cleaned the sludge out, and that's about the normal amount of water exchange that this gets in a day. Is that tank, you know, one of those small tanks, which is probably works out to, I don't know, 5% a day water exchange when we water, when we fully take out one of those tanks. So what do we got here? It's just a piece of cable. I thought it might have been a aeration hose. So all these tanks are basically going to have almost totally clean water in them because it's so much of a water exchange. But the sludge removal is overdue. I went around to each of these tanks and just cracked them open, cracked the valves open so I could see what it looked like in the bottom, and it's time. It's definitely time. So I'm digging these holes here so that I can put this net down and then this larger net over it to catch any, to make a little pool there and catch any fry that are in these tanks that I haven't been able to see. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do all of these today. I will at least get this one done and perhaps this one as well. And then tomorrow it'll be, maybe if I start early, I can get those 3 tanks done there. This water all ends up down in pond 1, so it's not really being wasted. It's just getting into pond 1 a different way. Alright, well, these, you know, these tanks here are a lot more flat bottomed than those over there, because we did these early on and we're still learning how to do it when these were made. Those tanks there drained much faster than these, partly because they're half the size and partly because there's a big angle in those tanks and these are much more flat bottomed. So I've started this one. This tank, come to find out, has a screen on the other side of that pipe, so I'm not terribly worried about losing any fish, and that's another reason why it's draining more slowly. This one I'm not sure about, so I've put my little net here, and I've started draining this one because they just take so long to drain. I'll drain it down to where it's about a foot of water left and stop and begin to fill this one back up. This tank has some really, really large breeders in it. Really large. And I'm not even sure how much I'm going to be able to drain this down. Another couple inches maybe, but it's still 4 or 5 inches deep. So I don't think I'm going to be able to totally drain this one and get it cleaned out with the fish still in it. But you don't really have a choice. I can't move the fish out. Don't have any place to move them to. So I'm just going to do the best I can. They're going to, as the water gets lower, they'll move around in there and keep the sediment kicked up. Yeah, that is a really large breeder right there. I would imagine that fish weighs a kilo easy. He's a big boy. So about another 10 minutes on this. That's probably work out just about right. I'll shut this one off about the time that I begin to fill this one back up. And double check and make sure there's no leaves in front of this. Well, there was a snail. They're just not draining fast. We did come back in and add cement down there on that end. It is much shallower on that end, but it's still nothing like these tanks over here. And in hindsight, it would have been, you know, in hindsight, round tanks would have been best, but we didn't really have the idea to make round tanks at that point. And what we should have done is made a really serious V in the middle of this with a settlement basin here, like something maybe a foot across and a foot deep with the drain on that. So I could just periodically go in and stir the water up, and it would go down into this basin, and then just drain the basin out. That would go a long ways to keeping these tanks sediment free. But we've got what we've got, so we got to make it work. You live and you learn. All right, I have noticed that not only is there a lot of fish in this tank, but I've noticed some small-ish ones in there as well that could be from our for sale tank. So I'm going to go in there with the small net. I've shut this one off. I'm going to go in with the small net and catch the small ones and put them in the for sale tank. There's like almost 20 fish in this tank. That's way more than there needs to be for a breeding tank. A tank this size, there really should only be a maximum of 8, and there's probably closer to 20. So I'm going to get these smaller fish out. Alright, well, I've closed off the valve on this one. I began filling it again and started the drain for this one. So hopefully about the time this one is drained out, this one will be full and ready to flow into this one and fill it back up again. I only moved out 4 fish out of this, 4 of the smaller ones, and I put them back in that tank back there because they were all females, and they were I think they were larger than what's in the for sale tank. There's still about 5 too many fish in this tank, so I'm going to do a count in this tank and see how many are there. I just might have to, for now, depending on how many are in this tank and in that tank down there, just might have to put fish in this tank also, rather than having them all overcrowded. The thing is with having the fish in this tank is that any fry that hatch in this one, I'm sure, will be sucked up with the pump. So it's not a perfect solution, it's just a solution, but we just may have to sell a bunch of these. You know, right now we don't have any, there's no we don't have a shortage of fry for the other ponds, because they're all, you know, they're overbreeding in the ponds, and we're not set up with nets in here to pull these females out once or twice a week to see if they have eggs and start the whole brooding process again. So just for now, just going to get these tanks cleaned out, and at some time in the future we'll get that breeding operation fired back up again, but we'll have to get more nets to do that, because I'm sure we don't have enough right there. I don't know what happened to all the nets, they're just gone, but we'll get it figured out. As you can see, there are way too many fish in this tank. So what I'm going to do, I don't have any other place to put them, so I'm going to catch one male and 5 females and put them in this tank right here. And then there will still be too many fish in this tank. So I have a lot more breeders here than what I had thought. So I'm going to get to catching them. Here we have another tank with way too many fish in it. So what it boils down to is that having those 200 that Tata and I captured out of that pond and put in this tank, really it's really made the rest of these breeder tanks overcrowded. So I haven't cleaned this tank yet that has those 200 in it. So what I'm going to do tomorrow, when I drain that tank, I'm going to take the fish out of it and put them over in the for sale tank. But I'm not going to make them for sale. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a purlin, a pipe or a post, whatever, along that right there, and lift that net up so that it separates that pin into that tank into two, so that I can keep these 200, whatever, and I'm going to count them, whatever's left, to see if we have any mortality, and go from there. Take, I don't know, 7 females and a male out of this and put them over there. This will still be too crowded, but it'll be not as crowded. And what it might boil down to is we're just going to have to sell some of these breeders, because it looks like overall we've got about 20 too many, and no place to put them. So I've already put 6 females and a male in that last tank there. This is the last place that we have, this is the last one we have a place to put them, so that's where they're going to go. I'm going to turn the water back on and get those fish some water back in their tank and call it good for today. So I got 3 of these done. Actually, I got 4 of them done. I got these 3, this one, that one, and the one we're doing now done, and the one second from the end there on the perpendicular tanks done. So all I have left to do tomorrow is transfer those grow out fish from that tank right there into this one, partition this with only the net, and clean out that last perpendicular tank there, and I'm done with the sludge removal. It's turned into quite a project. I've been at this almost all day, but it was necessary, it needed to be done, so 'Tis what it is. You know what? Even though I'm pretty dang tuckered, I think I have enough daylight left. I think I have enough time to just go ahead and do this last small perpendicular tank here. And that way all I've got to do tomorrow is that one tank and transfer the fish out of it. For the fish anyway. So I'm going to finish this up, and I want to get a count on how many fish are in this as well, because this will be the only tank that I'm not absolutely sure on. The reason that I wasn't the reason that I didn't know exactly how many breeders were in each of these tanks is that they were filled over 5 or 6 harvests and catchings, I guess you could say. And I didn't personally bring, I think I brought I put fish in one of these tanks, and Nerio and Gabriel and Tata put them in all the rest. And I just lost count. I couldn't remember what was where because I didn't personally do it. So now I've got an idea. There's the correct numbers in this one, correct number in all these 3 here. That tank right there is still overcrowded, and this one's overcrowded. And that one, so all 3 of those tanks there have too many fish in them, but that one right there has the most too many, this one. So I'm just going to move them over one, depending on how many are in this one. If there's 20 fish in this little small breeder tank here, then this is the one I'm going to move them out of. We shall see. Alright, well, I've got some helpers come down to see what I'm doing here. What you thinking, little dude? He wants to swim? Alright, well there's 12 fish in this one, which is about 5 too many. So I think we're just going to have to put some of these breeders up for sale. Really don't have any other choice. Because all these tanks are full, and even utilizing that tank there that we were doing the grow out experiment in, we've still got about 20 too many breeders. So at least the water exchange is done. And I'll do that last tank tomorrow. I'm tuckered. I'll finish filling this tank up and that one on the end, and I'll call it a day. He sees those little fish up there. Hold him up there, Mommy, so he can see. He's thinking those fish in that aquarium are pretty cool. What you thinking, Charlie? Oh, that's a big smile. Oh, yeah. The little things. Thank you, everyone. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.